Hello viewers, welcome to Parenting Today. My name is Rebecca Mwiruri Mulure. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, today we're going to talk about instilling discipline in your children. Sometimes children can be quite a handful. You go with them to a supermarket, they throw tantrums, or just in any public place and they're throwing tantrums. It's always, we actually associate it with discipline. It's most probably a discipline issue. But today on the show, we're going to talk a lot about that. And on set is Irene Sambuli Kibore and Kevin Kibore, a couple who have 4 children, a teen, a preteen, and 2 young ones, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so good having you here today. We're talking about discipline, and I'm sure I'm going to experience. You have experience, you know, with a 13-year-old and a 2-year-old. Yes. Those are very 2 different ages. Yeah. So tell me about it. So from the beginning, did you like sit down? I always like asking this. Did you make like a conscious decision, like, oh, so this is how we are going to parent? Because parenting can be quite a task. Mm-hmm. So is it something that you decided, or so this is how we are going to instill discipline in these children, or this is how we are going to do it to ensure that we bring up morally upright kids? Irene?
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to be in this show. And actually, what has really affected how we discipline our kids, you know, we've been raised differently. Like me personally, being caned was not in the scene. I didn't know my parents caning me. So, but when Kevin, we got married, them they were being caned. In fact, if they get a stool, they'll kick you with it. So when we got married, actually we had to discuss this, because now, me, I was feeling pain. If I see somebody caning the child, I feel pain. Me, I think it's better to talk to them and then correct them. So actually it has been something that we discuss daily, because when kids are growing, they get into some mistakes. So sometimes it needs caning, sometimes it needs to be talked to. Yeah, so I'm happy because the part of discipline, Kevin can do that. So we are balancing.
You're balancing
yes.
it. Wow. You know, I like it that you brought up that issue on how you are parented. It actually influences our parenting styles.
Yes.
You know, so it's not just an assumption like, oh, so this is what I know discipline as. Like you're saying, for you, caning was not discipline. It was like, oh, talking to the child. Tell me about the caning, Kevin.
So this is a strange way of bringing up a child. But again, I think through our stay together, there have been a lot of back tent meetings. Tukutane hapo nyuma ya tent kidogo. Because now when you come before the children, you want to come in one voice. So you know what she prefers, I know what I prefer. Because I use the method that was used on me. Apparently, like for my kids, I've never used a cane. As much as I want to be portrayed like I'm the one who would do that. The disciplinarian,
yes.
But I adapted into her way of talking. But I put firmness in what I say, and I repeat it. And I repeat it at a tone that makes sure that the child knows that now we are heightening the levels of what we want to do here. So it's actually between us agreeing on what we are going to do. And we don't have even a code of conduct. Like people would want to put it that there is this code of conduct. No, because situations are different. They could come up with different traits, like you've had. There are 4 of them. Each one would want to display that. But one thing I want to appreciate with children is that samaki mkunje angali mbichi. Yes, it has. I would say that has been the success of us. You'd want to train them when they are very young on a certain set of rules. And what we've learned from them is that they do more what they see us do. Yeah.
They relate you a lot.
Yeah, that you'll have a success on. But if you push them to do things that you yourself cannot do, it gives them a challenge. But if they discover that what you're saying is what you do, and the life that you're living is the one that you want them to live, then it becomes very simple.
Like you can't be on your phone all through and you expect them to to be on books.
Yes, it can't happen. Yes, so they have to know things like those ones. They have to know the boundaries. You have to define all those things. You have to take. Apparently, this generation is almost like we're in a bunge, because they would also want to share, and their little minds what they really appreciate about how things happen. Yeah, basically.
So what kind of shifts did you have to make in your lives, like with how you were brought up? You know, because how we were brought up really influences how we bring up our own children.
Sure.
And what are some of those things that you had to tone down on or do differently from how you were brought up, that you think has really helped bring up these kids now in this generation? Like you're saying, the generations are totally different, and the kind of children that we are raising right now are quite different from how we grew up. So what are some of those things that you changed or you shifted that are working for your children?
Okay, like what we've shared, even the Bible says, spare the child,
Spare the road.
spare the rod and spoil the child. But the same Bible in Psalms 23, it talks about the rod and the staff, whereby the shepherd uses the rod to control he's not using the rod to kick the flock. So when we are sharing, we actually also use the Bible as our basis, because the foundation that the marriage comes from also determines. So I really appreciate the counseling sessions that you have when you're doing your courtship before marriage, because it helps you to know the background of the other family and your background, so that you come into terms and know that maybe if when I get married to Kevin, this is what I have to learn about them. They used to go through this and this. So when we got married, when we got married and a child makes a mistake, I will not feel bad. It's not me to feel bad that even Kevin will be firm on them and maybe even want to cane them. So that makes me to be flexible and understand that this is also a way of correcting a child. So sometimes I don't want to put my values, because I was not caned, so these children should not be caned, you see. So I've toned down. Sometimes it needs that firmness, because me, I might be soft, but sometimes it needs Kevin to be there for firmness. And I've learned also to be firm. When he's not there and the child has made a mistake, I also know how to talk firmly.
Yes.
And then also the way he has said, our action speaks louder than words. So if I tell them that when you come from school, make sure that you brush your shoes, So they should also see me brushing my shoes, you see. They should also see me putting my bag in the right place, so that they don't come in the house and just scatter their bags everywhere. When they are using their toys, they return them to a place where it is a common box. So they see also me, if I use something, I return it to the place that is supposed to be. So that has also helped me, because also when you are being raised up, we had maids. So they will do most of the things.
Yes.
But you see, now I've learned that the children can also learn from the parents.
From the parents,
yes.
and the caregivers. So you spoke about samaki mkunje angali mchanga. What are some of those things that you instilled in your 13-year-old right now? What are some of those morals that you instilled when she was, is it a boy or a girl?
A girl.
A girl, when she was still young, that you've seen work? Like right now you can look at her and say, enyewe huyu, like we worked on her when she was young.
And we didn't realize that. But again, when she's grown into a teen and she sits with the rest, then you discover then she's a little bit more different and she's a bit more orderly. And that thing that we discover, okay, we were raised in a ghetto kind of setup, where it's an estate and we have all people from all walks of life. And you see uko ghetto, matamshi, mtu anarusha wadi yote saa yote, hatai kujua kama watoto wako hapa nini. For us, we have really censored our talk. We want to sound very, very noble. We want to sound very formal, and it is from their birth. So as they are sitting around, even with their peers, you would not hear her like shout some of those big words. She can't, and even she cannot even imagine. And we've never sat her down, like literally, and told her, usitumie hiyo neno. Yeah? But simply because hajawahi sikia nikiita mama yake jina yote, sijawahi waita wale jina yote. Sasa hiyo kitu yeye haezi fanya. Hata akisikia mwingine afanye. anakuja anakuambia, even when she was young, ati imagine mama, tunamwambia na wewe. And it is that way. We never use a road because she used a wrong language. She answered you back, no. She has never seen those exchanges, heated exchanges in the house, so she cannot do a heated exchange. When you speak, she just comes down, she listens to you, and probably she can give you a feedback later on. So there is that, like, sort of respect and a way of communication in the house that is orderly.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I hear is like you're the first example first as a parent.
Yeah.
Like what they assume is it's what monkey see monkey do.
Yeah.
Like whatever they see is what they do.
Yes.
The 2-year-old.
Yes.
Are you getting any tantrums? Are you there yet? And I throw tantrums, and if that is the case, how are you handling that? Oh, back to the disciplinarian.
Yes, anajua ile maneno amekuwa akipitia. So apparently when the 2-year-old hung around with the mom, she's going to have a very rough day, because now they want to bargain and practice democracy. And at that level, the level ya kukunja samaki. Unaona? So at that point, like we just share, and I share with her and show her the way. Like about a week ago, the guy refused to sleep, and he's very noisy in the house, and he wants to pull everything down. And mom seems to be having a number of things she wants to do. So I think sasa ilikuwa hiyo point yenye anasikia kweli kumgrab na kumfanya kitu. So when I came in nikamwambia, now you're going to see the difference between my way right now and yours. So I took the guy, nikamwambia nini nakusumbua? Hebu ingia hapa kwanza tuende. Knowing very well, if he accompanies me for one, what I say is what he will do. And after like 10 or 15, 30 minutes, we were back to the house. He was sleepy, and I just put him to bed. Kambia, now you see, when you talk to him firmly, and he knows what to do, he'll just take the order.
So you feel like she's practicing gentle parenting.
Yes.
No, but you know, it has become a thing actually.
Yeah.
You know, the gentle parenting that you need to be very kind. How has that worked for you? Let me hear whether it has worked.
So like he was saying,
Briefly, yeah.
now what I did, I left him to drop everything down so that I can also do my things.
Yes, yes.
But now you see he's putting the house in a mess. So I think being gentle again, the child reads you and says, if mom cannot pinch me a little
Pushes
bit,
limits.
cannot talk to me,
Yes.
I can really drive her crazy. So he will do anything so that he gets my attention. Yes.
So there's also the attention part. I want us to take a very short break.
Okay.
We're going to come back to that. Is it like they are also attention seeking when they are doing some of those things? After this very short break. Welcome back. You're watching Parenting Today, and today we are talking about instilling discipline in your children. How do you bring up morally upright kids? And on set is Irene and Kevin Kibore, who are sharing the experience in raising their 4 children. So we were on gentle parenting and whether these kids actually react because they want attention. How has it been, especially raising the 4 children? You know, like it can be the firstborn to now the secondborn, and the attention in a potea, like, you know, like to the lastborn, now they feel like the attention has moved to the 2-year-old. How have you dealt with that? The attention part, especially.
Okay. What I've experienced is there's a stage where the kids will really want the attention of the mom, and they will even stick to you so that you cannot do anything. And that's why sometimes I say, when you go to a place where there's a mother and children and you find the house is in a mess, you really don't have to blame her, because maybe the kids have not really given her time. They want to stay with her. And also, my firstborn and secondborn, they are following. When I was, my firstborn was 6 months, I got pregnant with my secondborn. So they are like twins. So you will see raising them, when I carry the small one, the firstborn will try to cry and say, Mom, let's go out, you know. She wants to get my attention.
Yes.
So sometimes, as a parent, you know, some parents will cane these kids and tell them, the first one. Oh, unanisumbua. Huoni nimebeba mtoto mdogo? So sometimes it's good to understand that they're still kids. And there are some stages they outgrow. You see, like sometimes we say terrible twos or terrific twos because it's a stage that they go through. And I have a 6-year-old, my 6-year-old girl. She's also more closer to me than my last born because of how she came into this world. You know, when I gave birth to her, the doctors were on strike, the nurses were on strike. So I went to the hospital and they told me, go back home. You still have a long way to go. When I reached home, 15 minutes didn't go by. So I gave birth in the house. So we really bonded. And then she was different. So she has that attention seeking. Even when she sees me with the small one, she really want to get my attention back. And tell mom, unapenda sana Taji. Nimeona unipendi mimi. Kwa nini unakaa tu naye peke yake? You see. So I've realized that it's sometimes good to incorporate them together. So I tell her, come, let's take care of the small one. Yeah.
Wow. When we were growing up, men were the disciplinarians.
Yes,
Kitini ya baba, amesema.
Yes.
I don't know why kids listen to men more than they listen to women. You can tell the child something, but they still, when the dad says it, it's very different from when you say it. How important is it now as a parent, like, and especially for fathers? So, we are seeing men right now who are wounded because of how they were brought up, na hiyo kupigwa, wazazi sijui wamepiga aje. So how different is your kind of parenting right now that ensures that these children are not hurt? Ile kuhatiwa ile, you know, when they grow up now they feel like I was wounded by my dad or my parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you try your level best, though there's no man who doesn't err at one point or another. But what the positive part I've seen in it is this, that they also need that disparity to see who's gentle on them and who's firm. And I think I've been watching a lot of animal shows, like real life, wildlife shows. Then I discovered even the male lion doesn't do much. But when it just browses, you see there's like the certain kind of order that comes around. So I think it's also an animal instinct that a man bestows that kind of firmness in a home. You look even at single parenthood, where we are talking about a lady is the one who's taking care of these children. You see how they grow, and you see a home where there's a man who's taking care of the children. Yeah, even where a man raises the children as a single parent, they will miss the gentleness part, which is also very important for them to have a balance of everything. And on my side, I was thinking, and what I see and what I feel is that I think that is one thing I'm very careful about, that anytime I'm instilling discipline, I don't want it to come out with hate. Therefore, I don't use words that, again, the child will go down to think about, dad aliniambia nini, mbona ameniita hivyo, amefanya nini. You just tell them where the mistake is, and you just being firm and show them, if you escalate this, then I'm going to work on you. And you see, then you get a balance. But when the child comes, that is one thing I learned from how I was being disciplined back then. You show them love. It's not like ulifanya hii makosa, it extends to something else. Hata sikupatii ile pesa walikuwa nataka shule kwa sababu unanisumbua. You see, and all that. It's not capital punishment. It is out of love. So we deal with this issue, we close it up. It doesn't affect the next out. Now that I promised you chips, and now this is what you've done, it doesn't mean you're not going to take chips, because that chips was out of love, you see. And that is, I think, what I've been doing most of the time.
And I think it's really important because I've realized there's so many men especially who are wounded right now because of words that were either spoken to them when they were young, or the kind of discipline that was instilled in them. And it has gone ahead to influence how they raise their own children, or how they treat relationships around them, because they feel like there's a lot of bitterness that they still hold against their parents, and it also influences how they relate with their parents in their adulthood.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, so I think how we raise our children at this age is really important. But I want to hear about the 13-year-old now. This is a teenager, and you also have a preteen, the 12-year-old. Whatever they are exposed to right now is really, really, you know, much. Like there's just so much going on out there in schools, in the society. How do you ensure that they stay morally upright as teenagers? And I know it's quite an issue right now.
Yeah. There was a friend, an elder person who was telling me that, Irene, now you've started raising kids. This is the time when you talk to your teen and she looks at you in your face hard without even blinking. So this is when you are raising the children. So what I've done, I've really tried to be best of friends with her so that she can share anything that she feels it's challenging or something that is not right, she feels is not right. And I've also told her that her friends, she can bring them to me so that I can know her friends. And sometimes through that, I'll tell her, this friend of yours, kindly be keen on her or him. Because sometimes when they're living in that community, they have...
So there is a him also.
So they even...
Yes.
friends, yes.
Actually, my mom encouraged that when I was growing up. Like, can they all come home first?
Yes.
Let them come and have tea. Let me meet them.
Yeah, schoolmates. Because sometimes they come and borrow... they come to borrow books. Yes. They come to do homework, you know. Maybe one doesn't have a textbook that the other one has, so they come and do the homework. So I also prefer that than maybe them borrowing outside there without my knowledge. So I've made sure that we are very good friends. Okay, they usually say also girls are very closer to the father.
To the dads, yes.
I also know that because she also talks a lot. Daddy atanifanyia hivi na hivi, you know. So I've made sure that we are good friends and that we are open. So that I'll tell her this, when you're doing this, even when you're going through the internet, kindly make sure that you're not going to the wrong sites because the internet has a lot. I've shown her some movies where kids have been kidnapped through their phones. Someone cheats them, tell them, come, I buy for you chips or something. And then they go and they get lost. So we are really open. The communication bit is good.
It's very important. And that relationship that, like she said, you know, there are parents who right now feel like maybe they missed out on the samaki mkunja angali mchanga part, and maybe they've already raised kids and they're now in their teenage years, and they're probably hiyo kuangalia na macho ngumu, like hawezi mwambia kitu yote. What would you advise such parents?
Wow. The other part that probably helped our parenthood, we did, and we are still doing a lot of youth ministry and youth programs in the community. So we are really dealing with problems that came from dysfunctional families. And we've met with so many, I think it has also counseled us in a way on how to deal with our own. Yeah? And I can tell you, when a child passes a certain age, it really takes divine intervention for you to redirect them. But you just have to, I'll repeat that and repeat that again. What I've just seen work even in a person who's already there, the teen is already actually displaying some kind of character people don't want. The only thing is they pick out someone, a peer who they relate to, and you just try to guide them by example. That is what helps them most of the time. But just talk and just mere talk and just guiding, tell them don't do this, don't do that, and they're already in it, it becomes very hard. But when they see someone in real life actually doing something that they are saying, they are walking the talk, it becomes very easy.
Mentorship.
Yeah. So a person who has already grown deviant would rather respond to a mentor or a figure that they reciprocate to. Yeah, that's what I've seen.
You've seen.
Yeah.
And as parents, do you have like older parents that you consult with, that you talk to? Do you have information that you expose yourselves to, like to be able to raise your children?
Yeah, in church we have such programs where parents, families can meet together and share their experiences. And then we've also organized for programs for the teens. They go to a camp, they are taught. So through that experience, they know also what our parents are telling us is actually the truth. It is not just them telling us. It is outside here. So we've also exposed them to church programs that we know that can educate them and empower them. Yes.
Wow. And, I think I just wanted us to bring that out, like the importance of parents also just exposing themselves to information.
Sure.
Information that will help you raise your teenagers, your children, because sometimes we bring them up according to how we were brought up.
Yes.
Again, unajua tu ni hivi.
Yeah,
So how
very true.
important is that, like, to just get
I
information?
think it's important. Probably back in the days, it was we could not do that. And I think the African way, raising a child was left for the community. Now the community has shut down because of what we are growing into as a society right now. But I've also I was not of that school of thought that you just know how to raise your child. It's like, but now I've come to see the goodness of sharing. We have some fellowships where we meet with senior parents and we share some of these things. In fact, like just the way we were with one of our senior parents in church, and we were just sharing, and through that fellowship, he took time actually to guide us on now. You're having a teen now in your house, and I think this and this is what is going to happen. But I believe that the approach
We have equipped you.
Yes. In fact, you just talked about the approach. You're not going to handle that teenager the way you used to handle them way back. Yes. You're now going to open the table now for discussions back and forth until you get away with you.
Like rights negotiation. Oh my God, I'm always so scared to get there.
Yeah, so that is what we are going to face now coming forward. I think someone has already given us some more Kenya that we are going to use on
that you now need to use negotiation.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take another short break, after which we'll have Damaris Mungai, a counseling psychologist, who's going to help us just know whether they've been doing it right and what to improve on, and also just shed more light on the whole discipline, instilling discipline in your children. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Parenting Today, and today on the show we are talking about instilling discipline in your children. And on set right now is Damaris Mungai, a counseling psychologist who has joined us, who has joined Irene and Kevin here to talk about discipline. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. Tell us about yourself, a bit about yourself.
My name is Damaris Mungai. I am born again. I am a counselor for the last 23 years. I am a mother of 4 adults, a grandmother of 3. So I have been with these children for longer.
Wow, and you have the experience as a grandmother and a grandmother of 3. So tell me about that. How do you instill discipline in children? How do you ensure that you've brought up morally upright children? And now that you have adults and now grandkids.
Number one, listening to Kevin and his wife, I can say I looked at them with a lot of admiration first, because I didn't know that. Probably I came to learn later about these things, about discipline. And so I did it the way it was done to me during when my parents were bringing me up. And so I made a lot of mistakes. Thankfully, my children came out light. Probably that's what I would say, because I had people commending me and telling me, what did you do to your children? And I tell them I did nothing, because I just followed the example that I saw my parents do. But now, having studied psychology and being a mentor myself, mentoring parents, I have also studied and learned a lot to do with parenting. And so I can say I made my mistake, yes. Thank God was present to correct the mistakes that I made. And me and my husband, we are very different. And if I can just talk a little bit about parenting. We have 4 styles of parenting. And if you look even more, but these 4 basic ones, we have the authoritarian type. The authoritarian type is the one that doesn't listen to the children. It is my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. And so those kind of children will grow with low self-esteem. They'll be frustrated because they cannot be heard. They just have to follow it is the military way of bringing up children. Yes. We have the authoritative. The authoritative is whereby we bring up our children, we listen to them.
The first one was authoritarian?
The other one is authoritative.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's where we listen to them. There is a kind of a dialogue, but there is also discipline. So you will tell them this is right, this is wrong. If you do this, then this is what is going to happen. You tell them about the consequences, about the rewards and all that. There is also the permissive parent. Everything goes. You tell them, I'm going to instill discipline, but you don't. And though the child knows he can get away, these are the children that can get away with murder. Mm-hmm. Because the parent is not keen on instilling discipline to them. Then we have the, is it called an avoidance? Avoidance. He doesn't, it's uninvolved. They are not involved at all. Nawaita kuku wa kienyeji. The child will grow their own way. Nobody is guiding them. Nobody is looking after them. They will do whatever it is. And under these parenting styles, the child will come out the way they have been brought up. And so, if we don't use the right way of parenting, and I love the way they talked about sitting together. Many parents don't sit together to guide their children on how to take care of the children. So I decide how to bring up my children. My husband decide, and so there is a conflict. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like that you mentioned that you and your husband are different, and you know how you handle issues is very different. And for the parents who are watching us, how do you now reach that common ground as parents? Like to decide, okay, fine, you come from this kind of background, and you come, how do you form your own culture as a family now to decide this is how we're going to bring up our own children?
That is the difficult part. And the reason I say it's the difficult part, there are some parents that will listen and want to be guided and want to be helped. But there are parents that don't want to be guided and don't want to be helped because already there is a marital conflict between a husband and wife. In fact, the most children that suffer are the children that are in a relationship that has conflict. The mother is being battered, and there is a lot. And so the children don't know where to go because they want either to protect, if the father is the one that battering the mother, they want to protect their mother. Yet there's children that still need to be protected and to be guided and to be helped to grow. When I was looking at what discipline is, it is something you instill to a person. It's like when we are going to university, we talk about a discipline. I'm doing this discipline, I'm doing that. So it is something you instill in a person to grow in a certain way. But this is what you are observing. Your mother is being beaten, or your father is being bullied, if I can use that word, by maybe the wife doesn't have the power to beat the husband, but he can bully the man, and so the children will grow in an environment. Sometimes as a psychologist or as a counselor, sometimes I feel it's better to have a single parent than to have parents that have conflict. because we have worse children,
yeah.
in a relationship where there is conflict. As Kevin said earlier, we model our children. So what are the children observing from us? What are they seeing? As you said, monkey see, monkey do. So this is what we have been seeing our parents. And our parents are the first role model we have.
Yes.
Eh? Because we say charity begins at home. So these are the first role model we have. So if the first role model I have is a wife batterer, what will I become?
Yes. I want you to pause there first. Do you have any questions for her?
Okay, when you're doing your counseling for a family, do you involve all, the whole family, the parents plus the kids, or only the kid?
Depends. And the reason I say depends, the ideal situation is the whole family. But the ideal situation does not always work. Because people have never taken, most of people have not taken counseling seriously. And so they feel I don't have a problem. It is my child who has been brought home because of indiscipline cases, so it is my child that goes to counseling. And so I am not interested. I am not coming. So at that time, you work with what you have. You work with the child because that is what you have.
Is it actually an option? Because I think I've also heard of a case where a parent, like a teenager was too much. Like the parent could not handle her anymore and decided to seek the services of a counselor, like to talk to the child. At what point does it get to that level where now your child actually needs counseling? Is it a reflection of a parenting problem or a societal influence on this child?
It can be both. It can be one, or it can be societal. The way we bring up our children is, I talk about 3 ways of looking at how we grow up. The first one is the nature of us. My nature cannot change. I cannot change my height. I cannot change the way I look like. There is the nurture part, how we are nurtured. And how we are nurtured, the first nurturer is the parent. And that is why most of the weight is put on the parent, because the parent is the first nurturer of this child. Then the society and the environment that we grow in that also shape us. And that's why I said it can be one or both, depending on where we come from. Because if you raise a child in an environment where the environment is abusive, there is a lot of cases that comes from, let's say, like slums. We have a lot of indiscipline in the slums because also the houses are very close to each other, and so they learn a lot from each other. And so this kind of environment will influence our children as much as the parents. But remember, the first person is the parent. And that is why the environment can also be subdued by a strong background of parenthood.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that, because asiyefunzwa na mamaye mfunzwa na ulimwengu. I think that's it. Today we are using a lot of Swahili, a lot of Swahili proverbs. Do you have any questions for her?
Yeah, mine would go to that terrific to, or what you call terrible to for others. Yeah.
Terrific is just trying to be positive.
Yeah, about it.
Yeah. It's terrible.
When they are two, and what I've realized, when they are boys, they're really all over. They really push you. Yeah. And what is the best approach for that?
There is something she said earlier. It is in Proverbs 23 and verse 6. Train the child the way they should grow, and when they grow old, they shall never depart from it. And if you read the Word of God, it has a lot of discipline in it. It teaches a lot of, God himself is a disciplinarian. And that training in itself is discipline. So when you're bringing up a child, you shouldn't, if you read Proverbs 22 again, no, Proverbs 22 verse 6 is the one that says train a child. 23 verse 13 and 14 is the one that talks about if you beat your child, or there is a lot of foolishness that is bound in the child's heart. So you remove it with the load of correction. And so when she talked about the load earlier, she talked about
the road and the stuff.
Yes, the way you guide. It's not necessarily beating, but sometimes a little beating helps. And I remember one time we talked about that. But when I have observed people, I have realized we hold on to something we think it's bad. We hold on to something we think is bad and think what we are giving them is the best. Then when let alone they turn out the way we don't want, we wonder where we went wrong. And these guidelines have already been given, not by Damaris, but by the Word of God that talks about, because we need as parents to know how well to bring up the child. And so it is important as early as 2 years. You talked about firmness. That firmness needs to be instilled. And that is why you can tell, even when you get inside a house, you can tell whether the children are disciplined or not.
We really have to end it here.
Yes.
I know it's a whole conversation that we can have. So you're actually doing it right, eh? And I like the road and the stuff example, because beating and still, showing the child that they need to be taken care of. But I think my takeout from this is how they need to model, you model what you want them to become. Yes, as parents. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Today we had Kevin and Irene Kibore, and we also had Damaris Mongai, a counseling psychologist. And we've spoken a lot about instilling discipline. It's really a topic that we cannot exhaust on one show and in one sitting. It's quite wide. But I'm sure, viewer, you've learned a thing or two about raising your children morally upright kids by instilling the right kind of discipline. My name is Rebecca Wiruri Mulure. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to Tile and Carpet, where we deal with everything you would need at home, in the office, restaurant, and hotels. We offer solutions to all your needs. We have a wide range of roofing solutions, tiles, sanitary furnishing, and interiors. We have exquisite furniture, elaborate dining sets, and classic comfy beds. Our prices are affordable across board. Feel free to visit us in any of our different branches in Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nairobi. We also do site visits and offer clients with professional advice. You can reach us on this number for the site visit.